This is Let's Talk About Mental Health, a weekly podcast about mental health and well-being, hosted by Jeremy Godwin. Let's talk about mental health, because the more we talk about it, the easier it gets. Hello and welcome to episode 39 of Let's Talk About Mental Health. This week I'm talking about coronavirus. I'll be talking about the impact of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic on our mental health, and I'll be looking at things that you can do to build your resilience and improve your overall well-being. So let's talk. Well, I think it's fair to say that 2020 hasn't quite turned out like we planned, has it? With so much going on in the world, there is one topic that unites every single human being on this planet: coronavirus, or to give it its proper name, COVID-19. A word of warning before we dive into this topic: COVID-19 is not a political issue. It is a human issue that has been hijacked by some for political purposes. So, if you don't agree with anything that I'm saying in today's podcast, be an adult, simply choose to stop listening and move on. Because if we're going to get through this, we need two main things: acceptance and cooperation. Acceptance means facing things as they are and accepting them in order to move forward with realistic optimism. In other words, having a positive mindset while also being realistic about things. Positivity will not magically cure everything, but if it's combined with a healthy dose of realism, then it will go a long way towards helping you to get through this pandemic. The other bit I mentioned was cooperation. This is not a crisis to be endured individually. This situation affects every single one of us on this planet, and so we need to work together to get through it. No finger pointing, no getting distracted by those who are putting their personal agendas ahead of the common good, no being weighed down by pessimism and despair. We will get through this. You will get through this, but it will take time, effort, and unity. With coronavirus, we're dealing with a situation that we have never had to deal with in recent history. Sure, most of us know that there have been plagues and pandemics throughout history, but they're so long ago that it's always such an abstract kind of idea, and certainly not something that the majority of us living today have ever experienced. COVID-19 is unprecedented, and we're still in the early days of the pandemic. It's not going to be cured overnight, and even if an effective vaccine is found, it's going to take several years for things to settle down. So we must be realistic. We must accept that fact, and we must brace ourselves that this will continue for some time. All that you have direct control over is what you do, say, and feel. And no amount of yelling or asking to speak to the manager of coronavirus is going to change what is outside of your control. This pandemic is affecting everyone, and the choice is to either be negative about that or to find some common ground with one another as we fight through the challenges that are being hurled at us and will continue to be hurled at us. And it's easy to focus on the negative and get bogged down by those stories in the news and on social media about people being morons, but you can either focus on that or you can focus on what you can do to contribute to a better today, one action at a time. We all need to worry less about what other people are doing and focus on what we're contributing. And we all need to accept that there is no magic cure, and that no matter how much you might want things to go back to the way they were, they won't. They cannot. You can't have an event of this magnitude and expect for things just to pick up where they left off a few months or years later. Life doesn't work like that. We will be forever changed by this. The reality is that coronavirus will be with us for at least several more years, and so we can either resist that fact and cause more suffering for ourselves and others, or we can accept it and start to work out what that means for us as individuals and as a society. It's not every person for themselves. If we're going to get through this, we all need less me thinking and much more we thinking. Because just focusing on yourself gets you sitting alone in a bunker with a shed load of toilet paper and not much else, except for alienation from your loved ones. Society breaks down when we don't work together, and we did not get to this point in our history without working together to make things better. Otherwise, we'd still be in the dark ages. Look, this is a crisis, and fear is totally understandable in any type of major crisis. Things may not be great at the moment, but it won't stay like this forever. And in the meantime, life goes on. The sun still rises in the east and sets in the west, the moon still goes through its cycles, the world keeps spinning, and time still marches on. How you get through this pandemic is your choice. You can choose to give in to fear and to resist what is outside of your control, which will lead to more suffering, or you can choose to accept that what is what is, and use fear to motivate you to do better. So, how do you get through the coming months and beyond with your mental health intact? Well, it's probably not going to surprise you to hear me tell you that it will take work. Nothing comes from nothing, so I'm not going to give you false hope and tell you that you can magically make things better overnight, because life doesn't work like that. However, there are many things, big and small, that you can do. Let's start with the big things. The first is choose your mindset. I talked about it before, realistic optimism. And being realistically optimistic is going to have a much more positive impact on your life and the world around you than giving in to negativity, fear, and pessimism. I talked about mindset in episode 31, so I would encourage you to check that out. However, let me say here that since this pandemic is happening regardless of what you think about it, you can either focus on the negatives or you can choose to find the positives and turn difficulties into opportunities. We need to accept that the past has passed and it doesn't exist anymore. It's not physically possible for things to go back again. You may not like it, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. So the sooner you can get to a place of acceptance, the sooner you can start moving forward in this new world that we now live in. Focus on what is within your control, specifically your words, actions, and feelings. For everything else, your only options are to either accept it or let it go. Take things one day at a time. Who knows what tomorrow will hold? I certainly don't. But when we spend our time worrying and overthinking about tomorrow, we rob ourselves of today's happiness. And that's something I discussed all the way back in episode 4. To do that, to take things one day at a time, focus on the next 24 to 48 hours only and make a conscious choice to take things one step at a time. And the final big thing that you can do is to get support if you're struggling. And now let's talk about the little things. These are the things that you can do every day that will help to make things better as we go through the coming months and beyond dealing with COVID. Let's start with have a daily routine. You've probably heard this one said about 1,000 times. I've certainly read it quite a fair bit, but it is a really solid point. And it's also an applicable point if you are dealing with any kind of mental health challenges. I have found this one to be particularly useful myself. So even if you're working from home or if you're currently unemployed, stick to a daily routine so that you're not just stuck in limbo. Get up at the same time every day, go to bed at the same time, eat your meals at the same time, make sure you brush your teeth and shower, put on clean clothes every day. I mean, look, these sound really basic, but having a routine and sticking to it actually helps you to claw back some control. And it helps to create a sense of normality in a very unnormal set of circumstances. Part of that also is about making healthy choices about what goes into your body. It's not just about what you put into your body physically, but it's also what goes into your mind. Don't overdo the news or social media, and do not read or listen to conspiracy theories. Limit your news consumption and get your news from reputable sources. Make time every day for exercise. Get outdoors and into nature as much as you can, even if it's just a walk. At the very least, do some physical exercise to keep your body moving. Speaking of exercise, challenge yourself with mental exercise. Read, write, paint, do puzzles, learn new things. Look, you don't need to be someone who learns 16 languages a month, but if that's what makes you happy, then you do you. But just do stuff and do what feels right to you. So as well as exercise and physical and mental stimulation, do things that you enjoy and have fun every single day. Whether that's watching puppy or kitten videos online, of course, one of the main reasons why the internet was invented, or doing something that you find enjoyable, having fun can help you to beat boredom and sluggishness that comes from feeling uprooted. Connect with others. Just because you're at home or you're not going out that often doesn't mean that you have to miss out. We have the miracle of technology to help us. Thank goodness for social media and video calling. What the hell did people do in the olden days besides write a letter and then wait 3 months for a reply? Make time to connect with your friends and family on a regular basis. And also connect with your community. Do what is within your control. So things like social distancing, wear a mask when you're unable to practice social distancing, wash your hands regularly, cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. It's not just about you, it's also about the more vulnerable people in our society. We're being asked to do these things for our own protection as well as those we love and the broader community. And it's about time we all started focusing a lot more on we and a bit less on me. We absolutely deserve our individual rights to freedom, but we're also part of a society, so there has to be balance in all things. My next point is a regular one for this program: practice gratitude. So focus daily on the things that you appreciate in your life and challenge yourself to find new things to be grateful for. And finally, talk about it. Talk with friends, family, neighbours. Remember, we're all in this together. If you're feeling some type of way about what's going on, chances are so are the people in your life and in your community. So connect with one another and help one another. Because when it comes to coronavirus and mental health, what it all boils down to is this. This pandemic is unprecedented, and its impacts are being felt far and wide. It's perfectly natural to feel uncertain, and fear is a totally normal response, but it's not an excuse to behave badly. We each have a choice: give in to fear and let it reduce us to animals, or look at our fears head on and use them to fuel us as we strive to create a better world. That's nearly it for this week. You can find past episodes and additional content at the website, which is letstalkaboutmentalhealth.com.au. You can find Let's Talk About Mental Health on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at LTA Mental Health. Thank you very much for joining me today. Look after yourself and make a conscious effort to share positivity and kindness out into the world, because you get back what you put out. Take care and talk to you next time.